Welcome to the Maria Liberati Show, where food meets art, travel, and life. So what does food mean to you? Well, today's guests will help us discover what food means to them. And my guests today are chef and food blogger and former travel blogger, Dennis Littley, and a regular on the show who we really enjoy having, Dr. Mark Merriwether von derBruggen, who is a scientist and a forager, and he's going to tell us all about cinnamon and why you should include it in your diet. And I'm also going to tell you about the best recipes to have for the winter. So stay with me. And I just want to take a minute to remind everyone to save the date, February 11th at 2 to 3 p.m. I will be doing a virtual pizza class with Chef Rocco from Rocco's Dough in Miami, Florida. He is a Neapolitan pizza expert, and I'll be cooking up a special dessert. Rocco may even make a type of a pizza dessert also. So save the date. You're going to be able to join the class. The registration will be limited, but you will be able to sign up on Eventbrite. If you sign up for my newsletter at marialiberati.com, you'll get a notice when the registration is open, but just keep your eye out on marialiberati.com or the Maria Liberati Show. We'll keep you posted and let you know when all the details are posted and you're able to register. So what are the best recipes to make during the winter? Well, if you'd like to tell us your favorite winter recipes, please do share it on social media, hashtag it the Maria Liberati Show, and we'll share it on the website for the Maria Liberati Show at themarialiberatishow.com. It can be difficult to maintain a balanced diet in the winter when all you want to do is eat all of the sweet treats that neighbors have been dropping off at your door, especially all the sweet treats that people have left over for Christmas. Sometimes all it takes is a good recipe for a delicious meal that will help you to feel warm, satisfied, and full while still getting all the nutrients that you need. Here's a few of my suggestions of some delicious recipes that you'll love to make during the winter. And these are some of my favorites. They keep me warm in the winter, and they're kind of my comfort foods also. The first one is polenta. First off, polenta is a great option for a hearty winter meal. Polenta is similar to like a cornmeal. It really is a cornmeal type of food because it's corn in texture. It's a cornmeal in texture and flavor, but it can be cooked to make it a delicious, creamy, cheesy soup-like dish. Many polenta recipes call for butter, cheese, and salt to be added to polenta to create a delicious comfort food that's nutritious and perfect for winter. Polenta can also be cooked and sliced to be added to lots of different dishes. For example, it can be used as a pasta substitute in dishes like lasagna, or it could be mixed into a casserole for a creamy texture. You can even make a pizza with it. Instead of the butter, you can add sauce. So if you have tomato sauce, add tomato sauce and cheese. Oh, it's so good, and it really just warms you up in the winter. My next favorite dish to make in the winter is soup. Another wonderful meal that's perfect for winter. And there are countless types of soup, which makes it a great versatile meal. There are many types of soup like tortilla soup, lentil soup, cauliflower soup, cheese soup, broccoli soup, a hearty stew, chili, and butternut squash soup, pumpkin soup, so much more. With all of the different options of soup available, you'll be sure to find a recipe that everyone in your family loves. And if you go to my website, marialiberati.com, go to my blog, you just look up soup, you will find many different soup recipes. Soup is also important to eat because it not only warms you up, but it's also really healthy for you. The right soups can be full of nutritious ingredients that keep you healthy in the winter. It's a great way to get in all your veggies. Baked pasta, oh, that is one of my favorites. Finally, a dish that's great not only for warming the oven, the house, and your belly. For those interested in a creamy dish with awesome flexibility, it's hard to find a food with easier personalization than pasta. Taste will be easy to please with a huge variety of pasta types, ridiculous numbers of sauces, and endless mix-in and topping combos. All the equipment you need is a pan and an oven mitts, making this family of dishes some of the easiest comfort foods you'll make this winter. As you're trying to decide what to prepare for your family during the winter holidays, keep in mind that not all winter meals have to be packed with sugars or unhealthy fats. There are many delicious options that are both hearty and healthy. Remember the suggested meals listed in this article, including polenta soup and baked pasta, but also take the time to research more options. You may just find a new family favorite that you'll be cooking for years to come. And as mentioned, you can find many options if you go through my blog and look at the winter months. You'll find many winter options there in my blog. Go to marialiberati.com, or you can search out recipes in my award-winning book series, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking, and that's available at marialiberati.com, at artoflivingpremiummedia.com, and really anywhere that you can find books online. So we have actually, this is the first interview of the new year. So Dennis, you know, good. This is kind of, I guess you're our good luck charm.
I hope so.
Yes, we have Chef Dennis Littley, who has a really interesting blog. He's a chef turned culinary blogger. And he has an interesting blog. He was a travel blogger. Now he's more a culinary blogger. And it's called, Dennis, is it called The Culinary Journey? Is that what the blog is called?
That's it. It's a culinary journey with Chef Dennis. And actually, I started as a food blogger, and then I found out people would send me places for free if I wrote about them.
Wow.
So I became a travel blogger.
Wow. So tell us some of the interesting places you got sent to.
Oh, gee, I've been to Ireland, to a Killarney in Dublin. I went to Spain. I was in Madrid and Barcelona.
Wow.
I've been throughout France on different cruises. I've been in Switzerland and Lucerne, staying on Lake Lucerne with 2 huge balconies overlooking the lake.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Wow. Really exciting. So I guess, well, first tell us, so I know you're a chef. So what led you to get into blogging?
Well, I started a culinary program. The last job I had was at a high school. I had never worked in a school before. It was always like, well, this is the end of my career. I might as well just sign out and become a instructor at a school or feed people at a school. It wasn't something that was high on my list because I figured my creativity would wane at that point.
Right.
And nothing could have been further from the truth, because I got there and I was inspired because I was cooking for people that were like loving everything I did. The kids, these high school girls, hadn't had good food the whole time they were there. And all of a sudden I'm making them chicken marsala, I'm making them sushi, we're roasting vegetables.
Wow.
And the more excited they got, the more invigorated I got. And then I got this great idea to start a culinary program to train my own staff for events. And that's when everything really exploded. And that's when I became a blogger.
Oh, okay. Wow. That's great. It is, isn't it really invigorating when you give people a taste of something like that, you know, they've never had. I'm sure the kids especially were all excited. It sounds like they were, with all the new tastes you were giving them.
Absolutely.
So,
and yeah, they even went as far as to paint a mural of me in the cafeteria. It was like a made-for-TV movie at that point. You know, they were.
My goodness. Yes, it was kind of, it sounds like the Fame, you know, the show Fame. Yeah. You probably remember that, but the culinary kind of version of Fame, sort of. So, oh, wow, that's really exciting. So, So tell us some of your most interesting journeys, I guess, from your culinary blog. Can any interesting, memorable ones? I'm sure you have many, all those wonderful places you mentioned.
Well, a lot of it is about the journeys that I've had in different countries and the people that I've met.
Right.
My wife is probably the more outgoing of the two of us. I'm more of a reserved. I kind of stand back and watch, and she just jumps right into things. So we
Uh-huh.
were in Germany,
Uh-huh.
and I'm taking pictures of this band that was like a pop-up kind of a thing that happened twice
Yes.
a year, and we just happened to be there. And
Yes.
I turn around looking for her, and she's sitting at a table with all these Germans, and she doesn't speak German. And she's talking, and I'm going, and she's waving me over, and I'm like, what are you doing? She goes, these are such and such, and they're trying to speak to her in English, and she's
Uh-huh.
just nodding. And we had a great time,
Oh, wow.
sharing food and drinking beer. And the beer there is cheaper than water,
Yes.
so it's like it's what you drink. And
Yes.
that was one of the memorable things, because it showed you how food and drink can be a bond between people, and how we're not that different after all.
Yes, yes. Isn't food it's a communicator.
Oh,
It brings people together. That's what I loved when I first got in the food industry, how I was meeting so many people that some people, the only thing I had in common was the food that we loved,
yeah,
which is really right. Because you can start a conversation with almost anyone about a food that they like, be it simple or complicated.
yeah,
So yes, so that's a wonderful experience. Exactly. A great way to communicate and
yeah,
kind of the language of food, right?
absolutely. And that's kind of what has always been the special aspect of cooking for me, is being able to connect with people. I don't necessarily need to know them, or like you said, I don't have the same interests or the same background,
Right.
uh, but sharing food with them, or making them something special, or making them moan with pleasure over food. I always thought, if I went out in the dining room to see how things were going and it was quiet,
Uh-huh.
it was a good night. People weren't even talking. All you could hear were people eating. They were happy.
Yes, yes. So tell us, is there any, I know you told me you have a passion for Italian cooking.
Mhm.
Any favorite recipes? It doesn't have to be Italian. Any favorite dishes that you like to cook, like your go-to dishes?
Well, one of the easiest dishes I prepare,
Uh,
that is probably like a restaurant style dish that you can make at home in
uh,
15 minutes, is clams and linguine.
yeah.
And people like it's my wife's favorite dish, so that
uh,
might be why it's my go-to dish, because
Yes,
she likes it. And it's just something that people have no clue how easy it is to make.
yes.
And that's one of the things I do with my blog, is I try to demystify
Uh-huh.
cooking, because in my classes I would always say, it's not rocket science. This
Yes,
is food.
right.
And the most important aspect of food is cooking with ingredients that you like to eat.
Yes.
That's what makes you happy.
Yes, yes. You're absolutely right. I don't know about you, but I always tell people, and it sounds like you do exactly. I always tell them, when you find a recipe, try to also make it your own by using maybe ingredients that you like. It doesn't have to be that specific ingredient. Maybe substitute something that's similar, but ingredients that you like. But yes, clams and with linguine, it's such a delicious dish, and people don't realize
Now,
how simple that dish is. Also, you're absolutely right. Any other like comfort foods or anything?
well, one of my favorites is chicken marsala. I really like making that, but pretty much it depends. Like when we go out to eat, my
Uh-huh.
favorite food in the world is usually what I'm eating at the time.
Uh-huh.
Like my wife cracks up. Like I'll get served lamb or duck or whatever it happens to be, and I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. And because it is, because I'm talking to the chef,
Right.
or even if I'm not, I'm just really enjoying myself. I'm immersing in it. But
Right.
I guess when it comes to cooking at home, we love pasta.
Uh-huh.
Pasta is a comfort food. So
Yes.
risotto. So, anything that's really got that starchy, wonderful goodness that'll kind of calm you down and put you to sleep too a little bit.
I love it. And I think that one of the things you're capturing through what you're saying about your blog too, and one of the things I always wanted to capture with, writing books too, and my blog, but is that food, there's so much more to a dish or a recipe than just, a bunch of ingredients or just what you're eating. What you're just saying is the experience, you're creating an experience. So just as you said, it's wherever you're at, that's like your favorite dish because you have that whole experience, and it's something to, definitely to look back on. And it just creates a more memorable experience, that taste that you get when you're having that experience, right? So it's definitely a way to create a memorable experience. So now your blog is mainly devoted to the culinary. You're a food blogger, or
it's mostly I ventured off into travel, and I hope to get back to it. COVID kind of screwed up.
Yes.
I had that trip of a lifetime in the works when COVID hit, starting in Sicily and ending in Nice. It was going to be a month-long amazing trip, but it'll come back. But
it'll come back. Yes. One of the things I just started doing, because of that, is getting people to do, well, it's kind of along the lines of that, creating experiences, staycation type things. So, if they want to go to your blog and find a recipe that maybe you created or experienced in a certain country, they can maybe make a staycation, especially for kids, give them that experience of being in whatever that place is, right?
Absolutely.
Create the recipe at home and kind of do a whole theme on that, a staycation, and or, try to find some local kind of little places. It's funny. I because I was traveling so much, I never really dwelled on finding things like more local to me, and it forced me to do that. So, I've been doing that too. So, there's always making, what do they say, making lemonade out of lemons, you find a way. But yes, I'm sure we'll all get back into it. So what's coming up? You mentioned, do you have a book coming up?
I have a book in the works, but we're still a little way off on that. And it'll just be the first collection of recipes of some of my favorite recipes, maybe about 60 or 70.
Right.
We're actually putting that through. HP has a new program where they're going to be printing books on demand around the world.
Oh, wow.
And it's really a kind of a pretty cool thing. So, it's not like a major publisher is going to push it out, but But this day and age, book publishing has kind of changed. I mean, blogging has changed how people buy books. People still buy books, but it's not the same in any respect.
No, it definitely isn't. But yes, so people then can, well, first of all, we want people to go to your blog. So oh, you know what? Wait, I just want to ask you. So this is a question I like to ask foodies that we have on, foodies, chefs and people in the food industry, before we end, and then I'll ask you to tell everybody where to find you. So one question I always try to get is, what does food mean to you?
Oh, food means everything to me. Food means everything. It's substance to keep us alive. It's something to bring us together. And it's something I can share with people to make them happy. I've learned some skills over my life. I was like a jack of all trades, kind of master of none. But the one that I did master was cooking. And nothing that I have found has ever given me greater joy than making someone happy with something that I've created, that I've made or shared or taught them to make.
Right.
Like, that's even more fulfilling. Like, I'll get emails about recipes that they made. Like, I had one from a woman in Norway. She had made my tiramisu for her Sicilian grandfather, and she said he cried. Things like that you are priceless.
That is priceless. Definitely.
So food is the common denominator and pretty much it means everything. Sometimes I eat just to live, but I try not to.
Right.
It's more about making it special and making it special for other people.
Wow, that's great. Thank you for sharing that with us. I love that answer. So we're working on putting together some type of an ebook or a book
Mhm.
with all the answer, all the
Oh, cool.
guests that I've had with that little answer citing them. So we'll keep you posted. But
Great.
so Dennis, tell everybody where they can find you and your
Sure.
blog.
You can find me at askchefdennis.com.
Uh-huh.
And that's where my blog is. And you can find all my recipes, sign up for a subscription, free subscription, and you get my ebook. I publish new ebooks every quarter.
Uh-huh.
And you can find me on social media on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, just Twitter as Ask Chef Dennis. So it's really easy. I became my brand
Uh-huh.
through someone who read my blog saying, you need to be Ask Chef Dennis. I'm like, really? It's like an ego thing. I'm like, oh, I can't be. And he says, no, you really need to be. So I became Ask Chef Dennis, and it was easy to brand me that way.
Yeah, that makes sense. People know who you are. They know you're
Yeah.
a chef, and it's to ask you, they know to ask. So that's
Yeah.
great. Well, Dennis, we will definitely be looking out for your book and anything else in the new year, and we'll definitely invite you back on again. We'll
Great.
be catching up again. Thank you so much. And thanks for being our good luck guest of 2022, our first guest. So thank you so much.
You're welcome, Maria.
And we'll
Thank
be
you for having
sharing
me.
this all over the place too. And please do the same.
I will.
Great. All right, Dennis, thanks. Have a good one. Have
You
a
too.
nice new year.
Happy New Year.
You too. Well, today, we're starting a new year, and we've invited Merriwether back. He always has some interesting information on simple ways that we can stay, healthy and good things to eat in the form of herbs and spices mainly, right? And today we're going to be talking about one of my favorites, cinnamon, right?
Most definitely. One of my favorites too. And
Yes.
it really should be everyone's favorite.
I think it should be. So tell us some of the good things that cinnamon does for us, I guess.
Sure. What's interesting, if you look at the history of cinnamon, originally it was not used as a culinary spice.
Huh.
It's actually considered to be the oldest known spice traded, but it was used by the Egyptians to embalm the mummies.
Oh,
It
wow.
wasn't until later people realized, hey, this tastes kind of good. And I'm a little worried about how that thought
Yes, I
process
was just going to
went.
say.
But not only does it taste good, it really tastes wonderful, but it's something that I make sure, especially with my daughters
Huh?
who love their iced coffees with all the stuff in it,
Stuff in
make
it. Yeah.
sure there's cinnamon in it too. So there's a
Yes.
number of reasons.
Uh-huh.
First, the cinnamon, it reduces blood sugar.
Oh,
So it interferes with the specific enzymes that break the carbohydrates down into sugar.
uh-huh.
And then it also blocks the absorption of the sugar. So adding cinnamon to a sweet dessert helps reduce the sugar load you're actually going to
It
get
absorbs.
from the cinnamon. So that's, I think, subconsciously, maybe that's why they started mixing the two and using it as the dessert
Oh,
herb, if you
yes,
will, because
exactly.
it really does help control blood sugar.
Yes, yes. Oh, that's.
Another thing it does, there's a thing called insulin resistance.
Mm-hmm.
And that occurs especially with people as they get overweight or consume too much sugars.
Uh-huh.
So the purpose of insulin in your blood is to take that sugar out of your blood and either metabolize it, get rid of it, or store it. If you don't have the insulin doing what it's supposed to do, your blood sugar goes really high and causes all sorts of really dangerous health issues.
Mm-hmm.
The cinnamon helps the insulin do its job. So if people have that insulin resistance, like which is found in certain types of diabetes and so forth,
Mm-hmm.
the cinnamon helps, like I said, it helps the
Oh,
cinnamon do its job.
uh-huh.
But not only does it help the true cinnamon, it actually has compounds in it that mimic the insulin itself. So it has like a double whammy. So it's really, really, really good
Wow.
for controlling blood sugar.
Uh-huh.
And just to go sideways for a second, the
Yes.
recommended dose for doing this is somewhere between a half a teaspoon and up to 2 teaspoons a day
Okay.
of cinnamon. So just sprinkle it in every meal. Try
Uh-huh.
and get some cinnamon in there. Put it in your drink, put it in your coffee, put it in your milk,
Right.
anything like that. And also there's two types of cinnamon that are out there. There's the Ceylon, which is the really high quality one that's generally considered to have the stronger medicinal benefits.
Oh, okay.
And then most of the stuff you find in the store is the cassia form.
Oh, okay.
So basically, if you're buying cheap cinnamon, you're
Mm-hmm.
getting the cassia, which is still really good for you,
Uh-huh.
but it also contains a little bit, it's from a different plant,
Right.
and it does contain a little bit of toxicity in it, natural
Ah,
toxicity.
uh-huh.
So you don't want to go beyond like 2 teaspoons a day of the
Oh,
cassia. But
uh-huh.
if you're doing the Ceylon,
Uh-huh.
then you can go, as much as you want, pretty much.
Oh, wow. That's what I was going to ask you. I've also heard, yes, I've heard of Ceylon. I've heard of is there a Vietnamese cinnamon or no?
There is, but how do I say it? It could be either the Ceylon or the cassia, depending
Uh-huh.
on which
So
cinnamon farm it
it can
comes from.
be, right. Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah. That's
the
my understanding anyway. Yeah.
yes, exactly. So the trick is, or not trick, but the good thing, I mean, if you can get the Ceylon, but if not,
Yep.
cassia and just in smaller, I
Yeah,
guess,
smaller
smaller
amounts.
amounts. But
Yeah, and if it does not say Ceylon, it's going to be cassia. So if it just
oh,
says cinnamon, assume it's the cassia,
okay.
which
And
again is still great. But
even the ones that say organic, they're, I don't know what
yeah.
deems them as organic then, if they still have toxicity, they're grown in,
It's a natural, so it's
right,
a natural part of it.
right.
So and the particular toxicity is actually just a really potent blood thinner,
Oh,
which has
okay.
its own uses. But if you get too much of that blood thinner, then you can bruise easily, or if you're
Wow.
cut, you can
Right,
start.
yes, yes.
But along those lines, then because it does have that blood thinning capabilities,
Uh-huh.
it helps reduce blood pressure, which is another really useful talent for
Yes,
the cinnamon. Um,
definitely.
Along with that, it also helps reduce the bad LDH or LDL
Oh, cholesterol.
cholesterols, the low density lipids. It
Yes.
gets rid of those
Uh-huh.
without affecting the amount of high density lipids, the
Uh-huh.
good cholesterol that you actually need.
Uh-huh.
So it works really good for that. So that again helps, especially on the circulatory system.
Definitely.
It's antibacterial. And in particular, it's really good against the sort of bacteria in your mouth that causes cavities.
Oh, how good.
So another benefit of just drinking cinnamon tea is it helps with the oral health and
Uh-huh.
helps reduce the bacteria, helps reduce bad breath, helps
Yes.
reduce cavities. So another reason for throwing it in there, especially if you're, doing a nice sugary milkshakey iced coffee sort of thing. So it
Right,
helps
right.
prevent the sugar
Uh-huh.
from, well, the bacteria eating the sugar, producing the acids that cause the cavities.
Yes, yes. Wow. So it has many benefits besides
Yeah.
being pretty good. And,
Yeah.
I always tell people sprinkle it on yogurt. It's just good if you're
Mm-hmm.
eating yogurts or whatever,
Yeah.
cereal,
Or
right? Anything, like you said, coffees.
yeah, throw
Any
it in your tea, your coffee grounds, and have a cinnamon
exactly.
tea.
That's
Very
exactly
good.
what I do in the morning. I do my
Mm-hmm.
coffee and I put that in the grounds before I brew
Yep.
my coffee.
Yep. And it will extract all the good compounds you want, and it tastes good. And
Yeah.
one other power of it that they found, and again, just to remind your listeners, I have a
Yes.
master's in medicinal chemistry, a PhD in
Yes.
physical organic chemistry, and I've devoted my life to studying the science of these plant compounds. One
Yes.
of the really other cool effects of cinnamon they found, science has found,
Uh-huh.
is that it reduces blood vessel growth in tumors, which
Wow.
can then reduce the speed at which the tumor is growing.
Uh-huh.
So the cinnamon, the compounds in cinnamon are considered to be anti-tumor type stuff too.
Oh,
So if
uh-huh.
you're having cinnamon every day, and
Yes.
it's a
That's
good one. Then,
yeah, it
two
is definitely.
teaspoons sounds like a lot, but if you're mixing it a little bit everywhere, you
Uh-huh.
can get that in really quickly.
You can get the benefits then if you're mixing it in, and it's 1.5 to 2 teaspoons,
So yeah, so a half a teaspoon up
half
to
a
two
teaspoon,
teaspoons a
up to
day.
2 teaspoons.
And that's generally with the cassia. If you have the Ceylon, then you can go 3, 4 teaspoons. If you're willing to take that much, don't do
Yeah,
it. The cinnamon challenge where you take a straight,
right.
that is very, very bad for you.
I can just
Um,
imagine. Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
but,
Yeah.
and everything else, add it, especially if it's weird, but if you add it to like chicken soup, It gives this kind of almost like an Asian-y sort of allspice sort of effect to
Sure,
it.
I could see how it could do that. It could give it an interesting sort of a flavor to
Yeah.
different kinds of soups. Pumpkin butternut squash
Oh
soup,
yeah,
which is around
yeah,
now, gives a real good flavor to that also.
yeah.
Definitely.
So it's fun to experiment with.
Yes, definitely, definitely. Well, that's great. So cinnamon is, and that's a good spice that people can especially use now. Apples, people are doing lots of things
Mm-hmm.
with apples, pumpkin,
Mm,
butternut
yes.
squash, and almost anything you can think of to get your
Yeah.
daily fix of cinnamon,
And definitely any dessert, any drink,
right?
really, it goes in both of those very
Oh,
well.
yes. At least it gives it a little bit of a health benefit,
Hmm.
whatever you're doing, or
Yeah, your afternoon tea or coffee or any of that.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's great. That's great. Thanks. And Merriweather, let people know where. I know you have a website. You have all these really good for you products on
Yeah.
there. So why don't you tell everybody?
Oh, thanks. Yeah. So medicinemanplantco.com is my website. And it's where I offer a whole line of different
Yes.
herbal supplements based on traditional plants, traditional medicinal plants,
Uh-huh.
but science backed.
Uh-huh.
Because as a professional caveman, I very much, promote the use of our ancestral plants and mushrooms for health support. But
Uh-huh.
at the same time, the scientist side of me needs that proof that they actually work, because there's a
Yes.
lot that does, but there's some that don't, and
Uh-huh.
I find the ones that do.
Okay.
Medicinemanplantco.com is where you find it all.
Great. And hopefully you'll come back next month or the next couple of months with another good for you herb or spice for us
You
too.
know, what I want to talk about next time is
Yes.
salt.
Oh, that's really interesting because that has a really bad rap, as you know.
Hmm.
So yeah, I would love to. All right, so
Yeah.
we'll do that. So yes, please book a time for February then.
Yep.
And Merriweather will be on in February. So look for his next interview in February. We'll be talking about salt, the benefits of salt. So,
Yep.
I guess we'll surprise everyone because everyone thinks it's a bad guy, but it's
Yeah.
not
And
a,
they forget we evolved in a salt sea. So,
yes, yes, exactly. Great. All right, Meriwether, thank you. I know you have a really busy day ahead of you.
ooh.
Thanks again, as always, really
My pleasure.
interesting. And we will see you next month then. Great.
Have a great time for you too.
Thanks. Thanks. Take care. Thanks for joining us on the Maria Liberati Show, and thanks also to my producer, Britton Roselle, and for my first guest of the new year, Dennis Littley, chef and food blogger, and Merriweather. Thanks for being my first guest of the new year. And don't forget, save the date, February 11th, 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time will be a virtual pizza making class with me and Chef Rocco from Rocco's Dough in Miami, Florida, a Neapolitan pizza expert. We'll be doing a Valentine's Day themed event, and registration will be limited. So look out for the notice. You'll be able to register on Eventbrite. If you register for my newsletter at marialiberati.com, you'll be given a notice when the registration has opened, and that's going to be a fun class with Chef Rocco. We'll be probably doing it on Zoom, so you can really join in anywhere in the world that you are. You'll be able to join in as long as you register on time. I know registration will be limited, so I hope to see you all there. It's nice to be able to see all your smiling faces. And don't forget, you can find me at marialiberati.com, on my blog at marialiberati.com. You can also find me and all my recipes in my Gourmand World Award-winning book series, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking. You can find all the books in the Basic Art of Italian Cooking series and The Basic Art of on marialiberati.com, on artoflivingprimamedia.com. That's the publisher website. You could find them really anywhere books are sold. And you can find me on Twitter at Maria Liberati, on Facebook at Chef Maria Liberati, on Pinterest at Maria Liberati, on LinkedIn at M Liberati, on Instagram at Maria Liberati, on my YouTube channel, the Maria Liberati channel, and let's see, my Roku channel, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking by Maria Liberati, and Zeno Media. We have a radio station called The Basic Art of. Until next time, peace, love, and pasta.